as a community, I think we just need to take a moment and honor a really great, great woman from this community who passed away on Friday. Sister Monica Parker had been struggling with cancer for some time. I know some of you remember when it was full-blown a few years or so ago, and she did a good, brave job of coming out of remission. And she sent something out on Facebook, I guess early September or so, letting people know that she had stage 4 cancer. She had a concert planned at Yoshi's East in Oakland. And I'm so glad that she called in, the folks to do the power singing for her, and that she had a chance to have, I wasn't able to make that, but she had a chance to have the celebration. There was something that was going on there. She moved to San Francisco not too long ago, and she became an active member of, in the church of one of my very dear friends, Bishop Yvette Flunder at City of Refuge. Very, very fine minister in church there. So we don't know, I don't have information yet about the memorial, whether the formal memorial will be in San Francisco or not, but I assure you that the city of Santa Cruz will show up and we will give a tribute. That's a promise. So we're in touch with different people, and, love and light to the family. I know many people have known her, through the years. I actually met Colleen Douglas while singing in one of Sister Monica's community choirs before there was an Inner Light. Yeah, and she's been there for us since the beginning. So love and light to her family. And on another note, I usually don't do these announcements ahead of time, but I just don't trust myself to remember. Oprah has created a new show on the OWN channel called The Help Desk. And The Help Desk is featuring 9 or 10 of her favorite spiritual counselors. And they are doing one-on-one, live coaching, counseling from wherever they are around the world in these outdoor environments. So airing at Pacific time in about 45 minutes, Michael Bernard Beckwith is going to be on the OWN channel as part of the Help Desk, doing live on Venice Beach, Los Angeles. And I don't know all the ones. I know Deepak Chopra, and a lot of the ones. It's like her favorite spiritual people counselors are part of this Help Desk, and I saw him on Friday night at Ricky Byer Beckwith's birthday celebration concert that they had at Unity Palo Alto, and I'd promised him that I would get it out because they're asking people not only to look at it, but to like it, send something in to OWN, because the more people who respond and say they like this, then they're likely to do some more episodes of it. So check it out, and if you really do like it, and if you really do enjoy it, we're asking you to let somebody know. Our theme this month is compassion. And my topic today is beyond complacency. Beyond complacency. I've been a student of Beckwith's for many, many years. And I often quote him because the things that he taught us have shifted my life forever. And one of those huge ones is that idea that pain pushes until vision pulls. Pain pushes until vision pulls. Pain can be a wonderful motivator. Yes, it can be. And it is not the only motivator. Drama is optional. Drama is optional. I'm amazed at how many people are actually afraid of becoming too spiritual. They're afraid of becoming too spiritual Because in their minds, if they become too spiritual, it's going to make them complacent. That if they become too spiritual, they're just going to, all day long and not do anything. That they will be somehow oblivious to the conditions and things around that need to change, and they want to keep a little edge in there. So let me not get too enlightened, lest I be, heavenly bound and earthly no good or worthless. And I want to just relieve you of that fear that somehow spiritual enlightenment will make you blind. That somehow spiritual awareness is going to put blinders on you and that you'll see less. Or that being too spiritually enlightened will make you above everything so that you'll care less or have the propensity somehow to be less, quote unquote, involved. Bing. It doesn't work that way. If anything, it is the complete opposite. That the more you grow spiritually, the more you will see. You'll see stuff you don't even want to see. You'll see more than what you think you can even hold. Your sense of connection is not going to go down. By becoming more awakened and more alive, you won't become more complacent. If anything, your compassion starts to rise. Your empathy starts to rise. The connectedness that you feel with other people, places, and things starts to rise. So don't be afraid that somehow or another, if we get too spiritual, that we're going to just meditate off into oblivion. I've said a couple of times in the last few weeks that we need to be aware of that word, but, whenever it is that we're talking about a spiritual principle or some kind of a spiritual practice. That the moment that you start hearing yourself, well, I would like to grow more spiritually, but I don't want to be complacent. But I don't want to do, but is an excuse. I just want you to hear me. I'm not saying that you can't have a healthy questioning and a healthy inquiry, but there's this but that we put on it that becomes a refute that gives us an escape valve. Like, well, I know we should be loving, but forgiving is so hard. I know that I should do more in my, spiritual practice, but it's so hard to be disciplined. I know, but this, but that. You're going to manifest the but. You're going to manifest your butt. Somebody got it. I want you to catch that. That but is the neutralizer. Okay? But is the excuse. But is that thing that says, well, it really sounds like a good idea, but I really don't have to do it because it's too hard or it's impossible. It's going to take too long. Nobody else can do it. How is this being expected of me? The moment that you start getting yourself into but, and what I want to ask you to do is, if you really have a question, then really have a question. Even if the but elevates to how, that's a step up. Not but, okay, but how exactly is that supposed to work? How exactly do I forgive in this situation? What's the plan? How does this work? Can you feel the difference? between, but I don't want to forgive. But this, but that. On my internet radio show that I do on Tuesday nights, it airs at 6 p.m. Pacific time. It's an hour-and-a-half show. So it really gives us a chance to breathe. And, you can call in or chat in and participate in it as well. And I have a couple of hosts. And somebody, one of the hosts was saying, somebody chatted in a question about this notion of forgiving but not forgetting. Can I forgive but not forget? And I said, well, it's a question of your intent. Everything is always a question of your intent. Technically speaking, nobody can ever forget anything. Okay? Technically speaking, you cannot forget. But we experience this thing called forget when we do not remind ourselves of something. Okay? The only way we can keep something in conscious memory is by continuously repeating it. If you don't repeat it, it won't be on recall. What we call forget really isn't forgetting. It's just not on instant dial anymore. Okay? You put the code instant dial of the stuff you want to recall quickly. Okay? So ask yourself, do you want the things that you're supposedly forgiving on instant redial? If you've really forgiven it, do you want it so accessible that any slightest trigger or anything is going to take you back into that? Is that what you really want? Okay? Because if you've gone into forgiveness, forgiveness is not about erasing anything. Forgiveness is shifting your relationship to it. Catch that. Forgiveness is shifting your relationship to it. The way that we construct the concept of forgiveness, and I'm staying on forgiveness a little minute here because it has a tiny little connection to compassion. There's this little bitty link, teeny weeny little link between forgiveness and compassion. So, in Scripture, was not written in English. English didn't even exist in Jesus' day. That as we go through language translations, you miss some things along the way. And a lot of the New Testament was not only written in Aramaic, a Hebrew dialect, but it was originally written in Greek for various reasons I won't go into. But if anybody doing Bible study and they want to go back to the more original manuscripts, you go to Greek for the New Testament and the Hebrew for the Old Testament. We call the Old Testament. And there are ways in which the language is constructed that we don't have in the English language. There's a verb tense in Greek called the middle voice. The middle voice. And what the middle voice does is that it says that within the sentence, that the verb is referring to the impact on the actor, that the action is impacting the one who's doing it. We don't even have that in English. We don't have a way to say, like if I say, I cheated. to show that the fact that I cheated had an impact on me. It doesn't even show up in the language. I would have to make myself a third person and objectify myself. It would have to be like I cheated on myself, or as a result of how I cheated somebody else, there was this impact on me. But there's nothing to say. So when we say, I love, we're looking for the object on the other end of that. Like, you love what? What is that being directed towards? There's nothing that says that it's happening to you. What we know of is, quote unquote, the commandments, all these commandments in the New Testament, to do this thing, to love your neighbor, to forgive. They're always in the middle voice. Think of the significance of that. Because we think of forgiveness as something that we do for somebody else. But in the structure of the language itself is that you do it for you. That the only one really impacted by your act of forgiveness is you. It's you. In the Sermon on the Mount, in the 6th chapter of Matthew, there's what we call the Lord's Prayer. And it's a collective prayer. It's not an individual prayer. It's not a prayer for your own individual wants and needs. Everything is our this, our daily bread, our guidance, our that. Can you feel the difference in that? You're not praying just for yourself. That everything that you are asking for yourself, you are asking for everyone else simultaneously. Okay? It's not an individual thing. It's an hour. Okay? Do you have the compassion to pray our? Do you have the compassion for every single thing that you're asking for you and yours, to want everybody to have it? It's not our daily bread, but not so-and-so's over there who lied and cheated on me. Make sure we have enough, but punish them so they don't have enough. It's not protect me from things that are going to let me go astray, but direct them straight to hell here on earth, if you don't mind. Can we make this a little quicker? It's not like that. And when it gets to forgiveness, catch this here. It's very explicit. Where we're asking the divine to forgive us our debts. These debts, it's not a monetary debt. This debt is some sort of a trespass, an offense, where you've crossed some boundaries or something, and it's described as a trespass in which reparations, some kind of amend is obligatory. This is where you've done some stuff that deserves and needs to be cleaned up. Okay? But check this out. The way that it's structured, it's asking God, forgive us our debts. You're not being asked to forgive anybody their debts. Say, well, how can I forgive this thing and that thing? You don't have to. That's not your problem. You don't have the power to. We don't have the power to shift someone's karma. Are you with me? We don't have the power to do that. You don't have the power to shift your own karma. Because when it's time to come back around, oh, baby, it's going to come back around. And you'll know it. And if you've grown and matured, You'll suck it up and take it. You thought I was going to say something a little more enlightening than that, didn't you? Yeah. There'll be a part of you just go, yeah, well, I guess I had that one. I guess I had that one coming. And if you don't have a lot of judgment about it, it doesn't have to grow, it doesn't have to fester, and it gives you a chance to be compassionate for yourself, because we all make mistakes, right? Forgive us our debts. Here's the as we forgive our debtors. Now, English would have us believe that as is about time, like a simultaneous thing. You do this for me, and at the same time, I'm doing this over here. This as means in the same manner. In the same manner. Okay? As I forgive, as we forgive our debtors. Okay? I said forgiveness shifts the relationship to something. It doesn't erase what's happened, but it keeps you from being stuck and bitter. Whatever it is that we don't forgive, we make a God out of it. Whatever we don't forgive, we make a God out of it because we allow that thing to define. We allow that thing to set the possibility level. We allow that thing to have the power and to have the control. The act of forgiveness puts you back in the driver's seat. The act of power puts you back in control. That young Pakistani girl just got the Nobel Peace Prize. She was one of the ones, Malala. Extraordinary. Her acceptance speech, right? There's not a single person that you can possibly think of who has any credibility in any sort of peace, social justice, evolutionary transformation, economic, political, that's not coming from this place. There's not a one. To win the Nobel Peace Prize, you don't win it on top of the Himalayas oming. That is not how you win the Nobel Peace Prize. You win the Nobel Peace Prize by being in the belly of the beast. And you coming out peaceful. Not only peaceful, but compassionate for the oppressors. Breathe. Until you can get to that, you won't be free. Until you can get to that, you will not be free. How many times do you hear people quote, love your neighbor? Jesus said, love your neighbor, love your neighbor. How many times do you hear people say, quote and say, Jesus said, love your enemy? You don't hear that quote that often, do you? No. You don't hear that one. But it's just as equally true. It is just as equally true. This place of compassion, and I know I'm using a lot of biblical references because, hey, that's what I'm doing. Translated. I mean, really, everybody has to stand somewhere. You know, the Dalai Lama is Buddhist. You know, you stand somewhere, wherever you are, but that doesn't mean you don't have compassion for all the other religions, but you got to stand someplace. You know, and I'm a little Pentecostal girl at heart. in terms of the Bible stories and my relationship to Jesus, and that stuff is in here. And as archetype, it's solid. Solid. Whether you believe it all personally or not, that's on you. That's not my concern. But don't stop listening because it's not your frame of reference. Okay? This compassion looks like, forgive them for they know not what they do. That's what the compassion looks like. This do. There are two different words that are used in Scripture around this. One is prazo, which is like the act of actually making something happen. The process by which you do it. The other speaks of what is set into motion as the final result of it happening, it being done. It would be like if I looked at you and said, what did you do? I'm not asking like the gory details of what, but just there's this sense of, do you have any idea of what you have set into motion? What have you done? What have you done? Do you have any idea of the rippling effects of what is going on? When Jesus said, forgive them for they know not what they do, he wasn't saying they don't know that they are crucifying me. He is well aware that they know that. What he's saying is that they think they're trying to accomplish this thing that can't be accomplished. They think they're trying to do that. And forgive them for that, because that's not what they don't even know what they're trying to do. They don't know who I am. They don't know who they are. In the Sacred Yes, my spiritual downloads, there's a letter in there called Being a Christ, and it says, being a Christ is knowing that you can't be killed and forgiving them for trying to anyway. Check that out. Of knowing you can't be. And that was one of the things, not in her Nobel Speech Prize, but that Malala said, who just won the Nobel Prize. She says, I've already faced the worst thing that can ever happen. She says, I've already done that. She says, the only thing that the Taliban can do is kill me. I've already even faced that. She says, but if they kill me, I don't think she used the word martyr, but she described it. She says, if they kill me, they're just going to make my message go out even louder. So, what can they do? She said, they can't silence me. Are you with me? They can't stop me. There is a giant within each of us. There is a giant within each of us that can rise up to the slings and the arrows of misfortune, as Shakespeare says, that happen to us in life, and still come out victorious and shining. That's what we're meant to do. Every test is a testimony. Every trial is a triumph with your name on it. If we just have the courage to not get stuck. Your lack of compassion hurts you. Your lack of compassion hurts you first. It hurts you. And most of the time, when we're lacking compassion, it isn't always that we hold some big grudge. We're just a little too complacent. We're just a little too complacent. Now, I said earlier that if you get more spiritually enlightened, it's not going to make you blind. That if you get more spiritually enlightened, it won't let you have less empathy. There is, however, a way in the natural material world where when we start getting more and more and more stuff, whatever that stuff kind of is, we get so wrapped up in it that sometimes it gets to be very difficult for us to see other people in other circumstances, in other situations. The compassion that we need in the world right now to do things like stop AIDS, end world hunger, end the wars. And I'm not just talking about stuff overseas. I'm talking about stuff even right here in the U.S. of A. All we're lacking is the compassion. We have the technologies. We have enough technology that nobody needs to die of hunger. We have enough technology to have enough energy to fuel everything that we need to fuel. Only thing we lack is the will. We just lack the intent. We have it. We all these debate about, health care and blah, underneath it all, it's really just a debate about compassion. Most of the economic stuff that we say, it's really about compassion. And I personally believe Martin Luther King Jr., when he said that a country that spends more on war than it does on programs of social uplift is moving towards moral and spiritual bankruptcy. That if that's what's happening, all we have to do is wake up. That's all we have to do. We have enough power, we have enough might, and particularly the USA and us in California in particular, and we are sitting in the suburb of the Silicon Valley. The influence we have on the whole entire world in terms of access and consciousness is just, it is mind-boggling. Can we take what we have and use it? Can we? That's part of the reason why we're in this We Circulate program. It's to get as many of us as possible off of the idea of not enoughness. Because there's this way that we're always wanting more and more and more, and then we miss the good that's all around us. And this is it's just a simple thing. See, think, share. See, think, pass it on. Pay it forward. Keep it going. Keep it circulating. We're so stuck in these idea of laws of attraction, like there's me here, there's my good out there that I want. Can I get a law of attraction to bring it to me? How can I attract? Just sit here, be it. There's a flow. There's a flow. When there's a flow, that means it's happening on both ends. You can't have a one-ended, one-sided flow. It comes in and it goes out. And it comes back in and it goes out. And unless you're in this circulation of it coming in and going out, you hear me say all the time that nature, anything we need to know about how we need to do things, just look at nature. Nature doesn't hoard. Nature does not hoard. Nature doesn't have a lot of attachment. It brings things in, it lets it out. Even your own body temple. You ingest, you digest, you assimilate, you eliminate. And even that which you eliminate becomes the fertilizer for the next thing. Can you feel that? It's this ecosystem. Okay? Can you let those things that you are holding on to and won't forgive, can you let them be fertilizer? Otherwise, it's like trying to hold everything inside so I don't forget. Like somehow or another, if I just remind myself of this often enough, I won't experience it again. You're experiencing it every time you relive it. You're already reliving it. The determination not to forget means I'm going to keep reliving it. But I'm going to end on this one. Here's the kisser of all this compassion stuff. We become what we don't forgive. We become what we don't forgive. That's how we get to the cycles of abuse. The abused becomes the abuser. That's what keeps endless war going on. To fight the terrorists, you act like a terrorist. It just keeps the loop going. We become what we don't forget. The so-called founding fathers are coming over here to create a new nation and to get away from the feudal landlords and blah, 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 and just recreate the same old stuff and even worse. England got rid of slavery way before the U.S. did. We become what we don't forgive. Compassion frees you. Yeah, it's going to benefit some other people, but I'm telling you, the first thing that compassion is going to do, it's going to help you be the all that you can be. It's going to take the shackles off of us, of the pain, the suffering, the stories, the drama, whatever that is that we have in our minds that we think is stopping us from being the all that we can be. That we get into the forgiveness that takes our power back, that lets us stand here and say, no matter what it is, you can't hurt me. You can't harm me. I can't get stuck here. I can't get stuck. When you really have the compassion, that's when it's going to shift. That's when it's going to change. There has to be the flow. There has to be the flow. In the U.S., we do this war thing. War on drugs, war on crime, war on poverty, war on terrorism, just war, it's like war on everything. And I love the way the Rand Corporation did a big study about it. It said that wars on nouns are never won. How can you have a war on a concept? It's like it doesn't work. We can't have a war on hunger. We have to have compassion for the hungry. And if we have the compassion for the hungry and ask, why are they hungry, then maybe we'll do something. Do you feel that? We can't have a war on drugs. War on drugs, it's just this thing. Like, can I cut off the supply? Why is there a demand for drugs? Huh? And until we deal with why is there a demand for drugs, as soon as you cut this thing off, it'll be something else. My mother taught 41 years at a special school in East LA, 7th to 12th grade girls. I think they're called opportunity schools now. They used to call it delinquent. So she was there from 51 to 92. Same school, her whole career. So in 51, they were sniffing glue. That's what they were doing to get high. We could ban glue. We could stop glue. But that's not going to end the problem. Can you feel that? So have some compassion. Beyond the complacency. It's so easy to just go, oh, well, that's them, that's their problem. No. It's all of our problem. Because if you think that most of the world can be hungry and it's not your problem, if you think that we can pollute the waters and it's not your problem, I want to end with this visual. I love it. I'm on the board of directors now, the Pachamama Alliance. Actually, we have a board meeting tonight. I'm going to be at the Twist House, Lynn and Bill Twist. And one of our programs is called Awakening the Dreamer. It's gotten very popular. It's like in 70 countries now. And it helps us sensitize to environmental issues and social justice issues. And there's this cartoon. I love it. Nothing says this better. It's a cartoon of a boat. It's like a rowboat. And this boat is in the water, and it's not level, it's tilted now. Okay? And the people, you can tell there's a hole in the boat. So the people who are on the side of the boat, where the hole is, the ship is going down, are busy bailing out and just bailing out. It's just a single frame cartoon. And then the people at the top of this boat who are looking down at the people bailing it out, you have a little bubble that comes out their mouth and it says, I'm so glad the hole's not on our side of the boat. A picture is sometimes worth 1,000 words. If there's a hole in the boat, we have a problem. Oh, let's pray. Let's pray.